This is Dan,
And this is Mike from Gear Diary.
and
And
today we're going to talk about the Kindle Fire HD.
that we are
I've got one, Mike's got one. Mine came last week, and yours came when, Mike?
on Monday.
On
So,
Monday. So you've only had a day and a half or so to work with it.
yeah.
All right. So I was thinking before we talk about the actual device, I thought it might be useful to run down our Kindle history. You up for that?
Sure.
So I ordered the Kindle One, and I returned it in a week. It was the
And
most
why was that?
grotesque piece of hardware. Did you have it?
No.
Okay, so I bought it and returned it. I bought the Kindle 2 and I liked it. Then I bought the Kindle DX because I actually used it 4 years ago or 3 years ago as my prayer book during the high holidays, believe it or not, because my wrists were really bothering me at the time. Did you have either of those?
No?
No. Then I bought the next Kindle and the Kindle Touch, and I bought the Kindle Fire. I kept
And
the
that also
Kindle
went
Touch,
back
which
in
I
a week.
use as my reader. And the
Yeah.
simple Kindle I actually use, I keep in my car actually instead of having what we call my rabbi's manual, the liturgy. But I returned the Kindle Fire after a week. Did you get it?
Yeah. Still got it.
You still have it. So
I still do.
I returned it because it was the biggest piece of compromised hardware I had seen in a long time. And like the first generation iPod Touch, no volume controls, no Bluetooth, no deal for me.
Yep.
But you kept it.
I did.
Why? Seriously, why?
Uh, well, first off, it's portable 7-inch and Amazon.
It
So,
sucks.
yeah. But actually, the funny thing is that aside from Bluetooth, which I completely agree with, it really is not any worse than the HTC Flyer, the Acer
Which I also
Iconium.
returned.
Yeah. So I mean, all of those other ones, anything before, say, the Nexus, I would
Right?
say that the Kindle Fire kind of stood side by side with the exception of expandable memory, external audio, and Bluetooth.
Okay.
So So in terms of a pure consumption device, it did okay. And again, it tapped right into Amazon in a way that really is actually still better than what I get on the Nexus, even though the Nexus has like, bone crunching hardware on it.
Okay. And
That
the Nexus you
compromise.
weren't going to keep, except Google kind of played with you. So you kept the
Yeah.
Nexus, but by default, kind of.
Yeah.
So
So I still have.
if right now it's between the Nexus and the Kindle Fire, which one would you pick up?
Depends on what I want to do.
Okay.
If I want to do well, see, I guess that's not even fair since I have the iPad. If I didn't have the iPad and I had to choose one of those two,
Because
I would do.
everybody watching this has such problems. It's like, which tablet do I use?
Yeah. So if I were going to reach for anything, like I have a bunch of stuff arrayed around me, I'd reach for the iPad. But if that weren't there, then I'd go. If it's productivity, I'd go for the Nexus. If it's media, I'd go for the Fire.
Okay. So I bought this because I didn't have a 7-inch tablet at this point. And I'm not at this point, especially with what Apple just pulled, I'm not convinced they're coming out with an iPad mini. And if they do, I don't think they're going to price it properly. Their whole
That's
logic,
pretty much
with, as
what
you were
we
talking
are.
about with the touch and the new touch, the price, they're not doing good stuff pricing wise as far as I'm concerned. So I bought this, but I wasn't sure I was keeping it. You bought it, why? Because you already had the Nexus 7 and the Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
Why'd you buy it?
So my hope is to actually have this replace those other two because it has Bluetooth, it has external volume, and it has reasonable hardware, and it has the eye into Amazon.
Okay. So are you keeping, let's just start with this. Are you keeping the uh, Amazon Kindle Fire HD?
Yes. Are
Okay,
you?
great. I am.
And why is that?
Here's why. At first, I wasn't sure I was going to. every other 7-inch tablet I've gotten, when I used it, I started using it. I usually liked it initially, or I knew immediately I hated it. But if I liked it initially. And within a couple of days, it just didn't work for me. I found it too frustrating. I didn't like it. So I'm keeping it because I wasn't sure at first, but it's grown on me a lot. First off, it's a nice piece of hardware. Unlike the first Kindle Fire, it's not a brick.
Yeah.
It actually is not super light, but it's lighter enough that it's comfortable to hold with one hand. I didn't find that with the original Kindle Fire. The screen's nice. It's a little laggy, but it's not bad laggy. So the hardware is sufficiently improved. There are things about it that I don't like that we can dig into, but it's a lot better than it was. And I was still not going to keep it until I had this epiphany that made me actually like the tablet, which is I can't look at this device the way I look at the iPad. This device,
How so?
This device for me is an e-reader first on speed.
Yeah.
So it's an e-reader with all this other really cool stuff that I can still do. So it's an e-reader, but it's also a Sonos controller. It's an e-reader, but it's also a music device. It's an e-reader, but it's also locked into Amazon Prime for the videos. It's an e-reader, but I can still check my email if I need to, but I wouldn't want it as my primary email device. So it's my Kindle, but it does a whole lot of other stuff, so I don't need to switch to another device if I have to.
That's really a good synopsis of what it is. I mean, that for me in terms of recommendation though makes it hard because you look at this thing and it's not big enough to do anything on. That's my problem. I think that I come down to on 7-inch tablets is that if you've got a smartphone, you've got it in your pocket. It's easy enough. Whatever. Even the Samsung things can more or less fit in a pocket. If you've got an iPad, you've got something that if you're touch typing on, you've got full-size keys. This is too small in every dimension to be fully usable, but too big to be, it's not going in my pocket.
It's a device.
It is. And so that's kind of figuring out what does that mean. And so watching video, and that was something that I did find with the Nexus, is if you're watching a video, suddenly this 1280 by 800 screen compared to the original Fire has a much better screen quality, resolution, and all. So you really get a better quality there. And I just can't. I did a little take last night, and I still have to post it. Is on comparing just the music quality between the Fire, the Nexus, and the Fire HD. And actually, I was surprised that the original Fire sounds better than the Nexus, but there's just no comparison. This thing just blows it out.
Coming out of this is actually pretty good.
It's good. It's got good depth to it, and it's loud. It's like twice as loud as those other two.
Is it really? You see, I don't know what to compare to. Yeah. Here's the other thing I like about it. It's inexpensive enough that I'm not worried about babying it. I mean, I don't want to trash it. I don't want to throw away $200.
Yeah.
But it's not a $500. Actually, in my case, my iPad is an $830 device.
Exactly. Now, and that's something that I did notice. Like if I look at the Nexus, it's got a real thin little bezel, really close glass to the screen. So you're really, in terms of economy of space, everything is right there. And I was very concerned about that. So when you talk about fragile things, that's one of the things I said in like my 7-day test. I noticed that the build quality wasn't so bad.
Whereas this is nice and it's actually recessed.
And you know what it reminds me of? The first thing that made me think of was Nook Touch. It's got, I've got one of those also, and it's got that nice rubberized back, and it's got kind of the.
Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, the Nook Touch, the Simple Touch reader, and it's got that same really nice rubberized lip around there that it does. It gives you a real robust feel that I'm not so worried if I bang it against something as I would be with the Nexus.
And that's the other thing. So I like holding it for that reason. And I'm finding this to be my go-to. I'm reading a book by Clive Cussler now. I'm finding it to be my go-to reading book because I can read it in the chair when I'm sitting here in the living room. But like when I get in bed and I want to read a couple of pages, I get it. It's comfortable to hold. It's got the backlighting. And except for reading in bright sunlight, I'd rather read on this right now than like my Kindles aren't seeing any use.
See, I like to use, I have so much screen time, I like to use, my first Kindle was the Kindle 4.
Right.
Well, actually it was the Kindle Fire, but then the Kindle 4, the simple one, the real cheapie, after that. And so, that's, I like to read on that just simply from the e-ink. Yeah, exactly.
This is a nifty little device.
It weighs nothing.
It weighs nothing. It's easy to use. When I take it out of the case, when I use it in the case, people think it's a book at first.
Yeah.
I'm taking it out of the case right now. It weighs nothing.
Now just. Yeah.
And you're right. It is.
So yeah, so I like the e-ink screen on the regular Nook, but you mentioned the original Fire, and if you just hold them individually, the two Fires, it doesn't seem all that much, but this really, in terms of how much of the square feel of it, of the original Kindle Fire, it is such a brick. And then when you put it in your hand, it doesn't flow naturally. So whereas this one has the nice rounded back, it really is just a more comfortable feel. And when you look at a spec sheet, a few ounces, you're like, okay, you're going back and forth. But then when you put this, it really does matter.
It's a big difference. I think here's the other reason I had a problem with the original Fire. I think I had a playbook. Actually, I was at the rollout. I was at RIM's rollout for the playbook. They gave us playbooks, which was really very nice of them. And that's this company. It used to exist up in Canada called Research in Motion. And,
I heard about them back in the 90s, I think.
The hardware was the nicest hardware. Yeah. Everything else stunk, but the hardware was really nice. So I expected, because the Kindle was basically based off of that, but it wasn't. And that kind of also kind of colored my view of it, because it fell so short of the positives of the playbook that I was really negative about the thing, and it's also a brick. So I mean, this is actually I think a good device. I mean, I've been seeing some people panning it. I think it's a good device, and under $200. I would probably recommend for most people getting this, say, over the Nexus 7.
Well, I would recommend it unless you're trying to do, unless some of the guys like Francis and Joel who are very much Google heads and also looking to use it for mostly email and web and all that stuff, then you want to go for this. But really, I mean, so many people in general are tied into Amazon.
Right.
Through
I love Prime. Prime is a great deal.
This is such a great way to go through all that. Kindle books are a huge thing. The Amazon MP3 store is the number 2 MP3 store. So it's just one thing after the next.
Most of my iTunes account, I actually took most of my music and I put it up into Amazon now.
Yeah.
It's a lot smoother and faster than Match, I'll tell you that much. iTunes Match.
Now, one complaint I have about the size.
That one too. I want to talk about that.
First one is I've got this wonderful Oberon thing for the original Fire.
I want some Oberon stuff.
I've got the pouch for the Nexus 7. This doesn't fit into anything.
Is that Oberon too?
This is also Oberon. I mean, they're sweet stuff.
Yeah, you rub it in.
But this doesn't fit into anything. So it's just too wide.
Yeah, I tried that also with all of my cases. It doesn't work.
So it's just a slightly non-standard sizing, which is a pain. So what is your...
We'll soon enough have stuff. Here's my problem with it. I'm trying to get the right angle. That's my problem.
Thickness?
No. The button control. The volume and the on-off buttons.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see those.
They are impossible
feel them either.
To find or feel.
Yep.
It is... And because the device really has no home button, so you can't tell which orientation you're in, I find myself rubbing either side. It's like, which is top? And that's annoying. Look.
All by feel.
All by feel, and it takes some time also. I'm not complaining. It has volume buttons, better than the original one.
But having to look, I agree. That was something I found as well, that I'm constantly... And when you actually have to do something quick, if you, for whatever reason, have to drop the volume or get a phone call, whatever, it really makes it a pain.
Right, right. Now, what I liked is, so I spent some time today with this new home audio company, and their technology is called Play-Fi, and it's to a large degree, it's a Sonos competitor, but it's not. But it is,
Yeah.
but it's not, but it is, but it's not. It uses Wi-Fi, but it uses your Wi-Fi system and not building its own, which kind of Sonos does. And it doesn't actually stream from the internet but it actually streams from your phone or your tablet.
Okay.
So it's an extension of the mobile device, but it sounds great and multi-room like Sonos, really good like that. What's interesting is it's Android. Eventually, they're platform agnostic, so they probably will come out with iOS and they'll probably come out with Windows Phone 8. But right now, they're Android. What I love is when they launch next month, they're also launching in the Amazon App Store.
Well, that's starting to happen more and more. You know,
Which means that this thing also would become the controller for my system if I get one.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Now do you have problems with finding apps for this on there? I mean, that's another common complaint.
So here's why I think, the answer is no, and here's why I think it's not an issue for me. I don't think I'd be keeping this if I were approaching this as a tablet. I really am approaching this as a Kindle on speed. So I'm less concerned about the apps. I'm downloading some apps, and I'll probably use more and more of them. But I haven't really used it as an app device all that much. I primarily used it for music, books, video, and then in between stuff, checking some email.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've been playing Cut the Rope.
Oh, and that's similar here. I mean, really, that's the thing. I've got all of a few games. I've got the new Majesty. It's a strategy game on there, but really, aside from that, it's books and that. And I remember reading right when the Windows Phone 7.5 update came out. A lot of people were like, "Well, we know that there aren't that many apps on Windows Phone, but they're the right apps," which really wasn't even true then either.
What does that mean?
Well, I guess what that means is if 90% of the world is happy with Angry Birds, then so long as your game store has Angry Birds, then it's good enough, which I don't really agree with anyway. But what I find with Amazon is that although they've got maybe 10% of the apps that the Android market has, or Google Play or whatever, I don't find really lacking. I mean, I use Slacker, I use, again, music, video,
Okay,
all
so
that
that's
stuff.
what you mean by the right. Okay, that makes sense. Because
Yeah, so
like the right apps, it's like we've already talked about the fact that we use even our iPads differently.
right,
So
tremendously.
your right apps are not my right apps.
Yeah. Now, all right, on that same thing, and I just hit that. How do you feel about the fact that you've got the advertisements?
I don't care.
Well, I actually, beyond don't care, this one here is
Actually,
telling
I do.
me
They've cost me money.
what? Well, yeah, that's the one that just came up was the 199 videos of the week, which is always a great thing. I mean, I get the emails anyway, but it's nice. And also under special offers, I've already gotten a $5 video credit. I've gotten a $5 MP3. So
See, look. So I joke that I don't care. I actually do care because I like it. Look, Amazon gets a lot of my money. Amazon and Apple get a lot of my money. So if Amazon is showing me stuff that it thinks I'm interested in and it's less expensive or there's a deal, no one's forcing me to buy it.
yeah.
I would have a problem if I'm reading a book and an advertisement popped up, that would bother me. But
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's a big thing. It's a lot of hoopla about nothing.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's to get to, I actually had to go looking to on the far right of the menu screen to get to the special offers. It's not like they're really slamming it down your throat, which is what I honestly expected. You read some of the early reviews and you just expected there to be ads coming everywhere. And I think that was something that was very overblown.
Oh, look at this. I'm just about to get $5 to use toward video. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. See, that's,
Look at that. I got $5. I mean, why would I have a problem with that?
I don't know.
You know?
Now, the one thing that I did
I think they made a
find,
mistake, by the way. I do. I think they made a mistake with this. You can opt out for $15. They should have said, this is the deal. We've
Yeah.
got a great device. It's under $200. It comes with ads. You don't have to use them. But by the way, you're stupid if you don't, because you'll actually get some actually free stuff. Deal with it.
yeah.
Or if you want to opt out, congratulations. It's going to be $150.
I mean, I think there are certain people that do have that mindset, so they had to set a price. And, I'm not sure why they dropped it from the earlier devices of being $30 now to being, is it $15? I really don't know why they would do that. Maybe they figure that they're leaving money on the table. If they say $15, people are like, well, whatever, that's not too bad. $30 may have been some threshold. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I've gotten, as you said, I've now, thanks to you, gotten $5 in video, $5 in music. I bought 2 books that I actually would have wanted at half price.
Yeah.
Why would I not want that?
Or exactly. You've already more than made up for the $15 that that you would have paid extra to get rid of those ads. And
Right.
so,
Look, the fact of the matter is, these devices, iOS devices, Kindle devices, they are in part designed to part you with your money.
very efficiently. Yeah.
But that's the reality. So let's come to terms with that and then realize that, in addition, they're really awesome.
Yeah.
So best feature of the new Kindle Fire HD.
Best feature. That's really a tough one. I think I would have to go with audio, because everything else is evolutionary. So in other words, you would expect it to be twice as fast as the old one. You'd expect it to have bumped the screen resolution. I expected to have, I honestly didn't think that they really had to care about the sound quality. So the fact that they put in something that when I was taping the comparison, I actually had to raise my voice to speak over.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So when I get that video cleaned up and that, you'll have to take a look. But it really was a pretty huge difference.
Cool.
So what about you?
Well, I was going to say it was a lame answer. I was actually just going to say Amazon, but that would have held for the Kindle Fire original also. I think I'm going to say hand feel.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say hand feel, that it's comfortable to hold for the type of work that I'm doing, the type of activities I'm doing with it. It's really comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't find that all the time with the iPad, but I also didn't find that with a lot of the 7-inch tablets. I found them very uncomfortable to hold after a while.
Yeah.
And
Well, certainly the original Fire is definitely that way. It's really, it is. And that's why I just leave it in this thing, because actually I find that I mind it less, kind of in book form than when I try to hold it by itself. And it's just the way that I end up holding it.
So do you see yourself keeping this in a case, or do you see yourself having a pouch and just holding it in the raw?
I think that just holding it by itself.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with it that way. That's why I really wish that it fit into the Oberon pouch, because that would have immediately gone in there.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think at this point I would recommend this over the Nexus for probably 90% of the people out there.
I would too. I would actually, my advice, if somebody were asking me, would be, if you can afford it, get an iPad. If you need something at a discount, get this. If you need something at a discount but also on contract with cellular, maybe look at the Galaxy Note, which the people who have them like them. I mean, it's a really interesting hybrid device. And
the new one coming next month, 5.5-inch screen.
Right.
So
I mean, that's a great e-reader and all, and as long as you have a headset like that Plantronics one I just reviewed, maybe it could work.
Now, what about if you just want, I mean, because of course there's the other Kindle that came out. What about if you just want an e-reader?
E-reader, I would go with the new one that just came out for sure.
Paperwhite?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, although I have to tell you something, it's funny that you say that you use the inexpensive Kindle still has the buttons. I've got both the touch and I actually find the one with the buttons probably easier to use.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'd have to amend that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, you can get away so cheap on those devices, and most times you have some amount of light available to you.
Right.
You know,
Right. So Kindle Fire stays, the Nexus 7 and the original Kindle Fire go to the kids?
either go to the kids or they get sold off or something, but they won't darken my doorstep anymore, one way or the other.
Excellent. Excellent. So
And
let's talk about one
we're
other
both
thing before we
keeping
go.
it.
Sorry?
Sure. So we're both keeping it.
We are. I'm actually, I know it may surprise some people, but I'm actually really liking the device and it stays.
Good.
It stays.
So what was the other thing?
Had HTC announced the Flyer 2 and given away demo units, that might be a different scenario. But today was all about the Windows 8 phones.
Yeah.
Apple's announcements. Did you order anything?
No.
Were you even tempted to order anything?
No, because I decided that, I mean, that's, as it is, my iPod Touch, the 4th generation, is with one of the kids, has been for a while, and I really haven't found that I miss it at all. I use the iPad all the time, and I'm quite happy just having the 1st generation Touch in the car to use. So I had no interest in any of the iPods, and of course I'm not up for a new phone for over a year, and
Neither was I.
And nor am I going to spend $650 for a phone. So
like you idiots, Judy and you did.
Exactly.
Plus, we woke up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, in order to pre-order, just to pay extra for the privilege of paying $650.
It's yeah, no comment.
But I mean, I think the bottom line, and I've already been using iOS 6, the full release today.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. It's, again, evolutionary. 4, 5, 6 just keeps on stepping up. It's quicker. I noticed my iPad, it was never slow, but it's quicker now. And I've read that in more than one place. Everything that I've read about the iPhone 5 is really good. There's some grumbling about still grumbling about the connector. We don't know how that will fall out over time.
It's like the ads. It's like, get over it and move on.
It really is. And I think there's just so much of, it's like my thought of the day as I've been reading all this and doing this, and Samsung's got their new ads. It's kind of like, suck it, losers. Apple wins again,
That's going to be the title for this, right there.
Just
Say it again, look in the camera and slow motion, just say it loud and clear.
Suck it, losers. Apple wins again.
And on that note, this is Dan.
And this is Mike.
Thanks for watching. That was funny.
That's all I could think of. I mean,